Hey guys, welcome back to Toy Garage. In this episode, let me talk about Tanaka Airsoft Replica, particularly revolver replica. This is a replica of the Snubby Smith Wesson Model 327 MPR8. Frame type is N, chambered with 357 Magnum, A-shot, stainless steel finished. Some parts are made of metal and some parts are plastic with electroplating finished. I tried to search the photo of the exact real steel from the internet, but I found none. I do see a model very similar to, but not in stainless finished. I wonder if Smith & Wesson really produced this model. Back to the replica. There is a unique feature of most of the modern Tanaka Airsoft revolvers. But before talking about that feature, let me give you some basic information for this model. It is green gas operated with a 2-inch barrel, plastic grips, and the electroplating is typical silver finished. I say typical because Tanaka is very famous for making stunning, beautiful electroplating surface effect. They name it Jupiter finished. But unfortunately, I'm a careless guy. I do not have the courage to get one. I think I will just ruin it. And of course, such beautiful finish will cost you quite an amount of extra money. But for this model, with a typical electroplating finish, I still feel that Tanaka has done a very good job. The only scratch is in here. You see, this only scratch is in here. It is the cylinder shaft here, a D10 shaft, which is spring-loaded and therefore is always pushing and scratching against that part. You see? Well, which is reasonable. And talking about the material, metal made external parts include the hammer, the trigger, the cylinder release button, the cylinder case, the cylinder crank, and this cylinder shaft, together with the hatch cover on the right side, and finally the barrel shaft collar, which is used to lock the barrel shaft. You see here, it is metal. Pay attention that there is an internal housing installed inside the plastic frame, and it is made of metal too. So plastic parts include the big external frame here, the barrel shaft, and this front sight and the grips. Now let's talk about the special feature that Tanaka made. I think it is patent. Therefore, only Tanaka make this feature. Okay. From the back of the cylinder, you can easily identify that the cartridges are not unloadable. The golden part is a decorative dummy that resembles the back of the 8 cartridges. There is a hole in one of them, and if you rotate it correctly in the position, you will find the green gas inject valve there. You see? Here. Yes, the green gas reservoir is installed inside the cylinder. So this is what Tanaka made. They packed the gas reservoir together with the BB pellet magazine into the cylinder. For this end-frame model, or even within the small cylinder of a J-frame model that I show you in one of my previous videos, It is an amazing compact design. I appreciate that. But most of the airsoft player will shout out that this is unrealistic, and they even feeling ridiculous that an airsoft revolver without unloadable cartridges. They are satisfied to play with the loading and unloading action. Even typical speed loader are also applicable. Funny, but don't get me wrong, I agree with that argument, but I also appreciate what Tanaka has made. And indeed, there is another airsoft manufacturer making their products in that typical way. So why Tanaka do so? Actually, they sacrifice typical cylinder and cartridges for making room for realistic trigger mechanic. Tanaka used almost exact same design of the wheel steel for the trigger part, which exists for over a century. Time has proved that the design is the best in Earth. Before looking to the internal of a Tanaka, let me show you a non-Tanaka replica that used the typical approach. It is a replica of the Mateba Model 2006M, an Italy bank. 6-inch barrel, 6-shot chamber in 357 Magnum. The barrel is located in the 6th o'clock position here, and target for reducing the recoil flip, and the crank is moving in this way. This replica is produced by Marushin. As I said, it is a typical design with brass-made unloadable cartridges. As you see here. And therefore, the gas reservoir is located within the grip here. Okay, let's try the trigger. My feeling is the trigger pull is heavy and uneven. Let me describe it in more detail. I love to use stages to describe the travel of the trigger. So for the first about 2 millimeters of travel, it is loosey. It gives me a feeling that similar to pushing against the plates among some sears and gears. And the second stage is in here. I now need to increase my force. I mean the force applied by my fingers increase enormously. And then I keep increase the force, although it's not moving at all. Once I overcome the maximum resistance, okay, you see? The trigger reached the end of the travel in a very quick way and complete the double action cycle. I assume that once the maximum resistance was overcome at that particular position, the force required in the rest of the travel reduced. But I continue to pull it hard, and therefore it moved quickly. Is it a good design? Before giving you my answer, let me do it again. But for this time, please pay attention to the barrel when I overcome the maximum resistance. You see, my hand shake and the barrel shake. I should have missed my target. Honestly, I have already paid some sort of extra attention to hold the pistol firmly, but it doesn't work. I guess it is part of because of the heavy trigger pull, and the most important problem is, let me try to give you a rational explanation of the phenomena. It may need some imagination and be patient. The most important problem is the sudden reduce of the force required in the middle, from the middle of the travel. Speaking in other words, I keep pulling the trigger hard in the second half of the travel, much harder than it did. And finally, it collided to the end position. The collision caused the whole pistol shake, and I hope you got it. It is a collision. And maybe the design of this replica is not perfect, or maybe I got a shaky hand. I don't know, but I'm definitely sure that the mechanics of the real steel is different from this replica. Now let's try a Tanaka. Okay, let's try the trigger. Let me describe the action in detail. For the initial 1 millimeter of travel, the force required is adequate, and obviously I am pushing against some place because the hammer is not moving. The travel is very short. I do feel, and this stage is almost not noticeable if you are not paying high attention. And in the second stage, I need to increase the force by very, very little amount, and I start to pull the hammer. You see? After running about 5 millimeter in the second stage, the force required increased a little bit more, and now I start to turn the cylinder. And of course, still moving the hammer. The force required in the rest of the travel is steady, and finally the hammer is released and the action complete. As you see, I can pull the trigger in a very slow speed, which means that the force that I apply is steady, and therefore my shaky hands do not get a chance. Good. I think the key point is the steady trigger pull, and this design is way, way better than the one in the typical design. By the way, it is the design from real steel. Now let's see the internal. On the right is a photo of the internal of a Smith Wesson real steel. I grabbed it from the internet. I'm not sure about the frame type, but at least it is not J-frame. On the right is the internal of my Snubby. They are very similar, isn't it? And if you look carefully, obviously there is one part missed in the replica. I highlighted with the with a rectangle. I don't know the name of the part, but it is related to the heat pin, the firing pin. The replica, of course, does not carry such a thing. In conclusion, I love the Tanaka approach, even they sacrifice a popular feature that most other people loved. I highly recommend it. That's the end of this episode. If you like this channel, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video. Stay tuned. Bye bye.